So another qualifying session and another Max Verstappen pole for 2024. But it could have been very different today because Lando Norris was very quick. That McLaren's got a lot of upgrades here this weekend, 10 to be exact, all across the car. And, well, I think the question needs to be asked. Did Lando Norris bottle it today? I think he did. Of course, we know Lando has got the potential to get on pole position. He did it in the last weekend at Shanghai in China. But, of course, lost that first position into the first corner. I wouldn't say he bottled it. I think he just made the wrong decision at the time. Very easy to try and keep it around the outside here. But this weekend, he was comfortably fastest in Q1 and Q2. And then, well, in Q3, just fumbled it massively. Now, the real interesting thing is here, for those of you who are thinking, no, Lando wouldn't have got on pole position because of Max. Well, Max, for one, wasn't that quick on the soft tyre. His lap was very scrappy. In fairness, everyone's lap was kind of scrappy. It seemed like they struggled with their tyre warm-up, which we'll get to in a second. But Lando's fastest lap time in Q2 of that sprint shootout was a tenth quicker than Max's pole lap on a set of softs. And Lando did it on mediums. That is how quick Lando is in that McLaren this weekend. The FP1 kind of hid his true pace, focused on his long run, so we never really saw that single lap pace. And I tell you what, if he hooked up that last lap on the softs, I think it would have been a comfortable pole position for him, considering what Max did. However, what Lando did is that, and like a lot of drivers out there, and Zach Brown confirmed this afterwards, is that their tyre preparation for that single lap shootout, which happens in the last shootout, Q3, for the sprint race, they didn't warm the tyres up enough. The prep wasn't good enough. Piastri kind of said the same as well. He struggled a little bit. And that's kind of indicated up and down the field as well. Not all of them could get those tyres up to temperature. But Lando would still think, with the advantage and the pace that he showed in Q1 and Q2, that even with slightly underperforming tyres, slightly under temp, he would still have enough in that car and the way that he was driving to be able to at least get it alongside Max. Yeah, you'd say front row. For him to be in ninth, to only just be ahead of Hulkenberg, who was on like 9-lap-old used tyres, be out-qualified by Daniel Ricciardo in B-carb car in P4, and Lance Stroll, who was on like 8-lap-old soft tyres as well, who, in fairness to him, also out-qualified his teammate Alonso. So, yeah, I just think he's massively fumbled it here today, and I think he has bottled it. Bottled it. Now, hopefully he can. That McLaren's definitely got pace, especially in his hands. Hopefully he can make up some positions tomorrow in the sprint race and provide us with some well-needed action. But I think that Red Bull, Max was struggling in that Red Bull in FP1. He wasn't very comfortable with it. Throughout the whole qualifying sessions, he didn't seem particularly comfortable either. He wasn't clearly the quickest driver. Lando was. The McLarens looked good. I think that Red Bull is potentially vulnerable to those McLarens this weekend with those upgrades that they've bought. I think they've definitely made a difference. However, we're not going to know that now because Oscar's starting P6 and Lando's starting P9. So we're at least going to have to wait until qualifying on Saturday and for the race on Sunday for Lando to redeem himself. But yeah, not a great start for the weekend for Lando. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But someone who did have a very poor start to this weekend and has been able to turn it around is Charles Leclerc. Of course, spinning it in FP1 at turn 16 just after that really difficult chicane, and was facing the wrong way down the track. Tried to spin his car around and, yeah, unfortunately got himself stuck and made himself pretty much an immovable object. After that, I mean, he did one lap of full running, so he's had no setup preparation, no way to really dial in the car, and for him to be P2 and only a 10th behind Max is a great recovery from him, especially out qualifying Carlos Sainz as well. So yeah, very good result for Charles Leclerc. We'll see if he can convert that in the race as well. And then we move on to, of course, the inevitable Mercedes. I don't know what else to really say about them. They've just made a poor car. Simple as that. Yes, the 8 times world champions have made a poor car. They're so far behind in this regulation set that they are just chasing everyone else. And the car just looks so unbalanced. Lewis and George, you look at their onboard laps through the high speed downforce sections, so turns 3, 4 and 5 I think it is, they're just, the car just wants to kill them. The rear of the car is snapping all over the place. They're having to lift out of the corners, whereas other cars are able to go through there flat out, or at least with a considerable more amount of throttle. It's more stable, and they're just gaining so much time on them. So yeah, the fact that George and Lewis were both out in the sprint shootout too just indicates that it's neither driver who is the issue. It's just the fact that the Mercedes haven't made a good car, and they're behind so much in development because of that initial wrong concept and route that they went down with W13, or starting with W13. And in this cost cap era, they can't just throw money at it like they used to and bring a brand new car in 4 races time. They have to work with what they've got. So yeah, poor for them. We'll see if they can make up positions in the race, but we know it's a lot more difficult to pass now in these cars than it was at the start of this regulation set. Miami, with of course the DRS sections, potentially they can overtake, but with how much of a handful that car looks like it is, especially on the first sector and on the exit of the turn 8 corner, where it's full throttle all the way down to the fake marina, a very prime overtaking spot at Miami. I think they're just going to be sitting ducks. So we'll see what the Lewis Hamilton and George Russell will be able to do, but I don't have much hope, and I don't have much hope for them for the rest of the season. And lastly, guys, I can't end this video without talking about Danny Ricciardo. What a qualifying performance that was from him. I didn't expect him to get into Q3, let alone be in the top 5, starting P4 of all places for the sprint race. Wow. He did get a little bit of assistance from Max Verstappen, but look, you still need to get the job done, and you still need to get into Q3. And look, his true competition this year is his teammate Yuki Tsunoda, and Yuki, quite rightly so, has got a lot of plaudits for his start to the season. However, there is a tendency for Yuki, or there's a pattern forming, should I say, of Yuki not doing so well in sprint race weekends. Where there's limited practice, there's only a single practice session to dial in the setup and to become familiar with the circuit, he's struggled. He doesn't have the best of weekends. Whereas Danny Ricciardo, using the amount of experience that he's got, probably is able to deal with that a bit better, and quite clearly that showed today. So Yuki starting in 15th, and we have Danny starting in 4th. Now there will be the argument of that, well, Yuki only had 1 run in Q2. Yes, he did. However, that's probably a strategy of keeping an extra set of tyres available for this race weekend for him. On Sunday, you still have to think about the bigger picture. But Yuki, even on a brand new set of medians in that last run, where you would expect him to improve and at least compete to push into Q3, was nowhere near it. So yeah, we'll see if his performance can do better over the weekends. As I've already mentioned, the setup could be changed after the sprint race, so maybe he'll learn a lot more in this sprint race and over those laps. But yeah, definitely a great start to this weekend from Daniel, and exactly what he needed after the unfortunate Lance Stroll taking him out of the Chinese Grand Prix, where I think he was on for a good finish there. But yes, sprint race, let's see what it has in store for us. Still don't have much hope with sprint races, but look, hopefully Lando can provide us with some excitement, some on-track action, as he is in quite evidently a pacey McLaren, and he has, I think, a little bit to prove after that very poor Q3 performance, where he should definitely be starting on the front row at least, and in my opinion should be on pole. But let's see. So remember to hit that like and subscribe button, guys. Turn those notifications on, because we will be going live over this weekend for the F1 watch-alongs. So yeah, we'll catch you then. Bye.